Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. It's a Conspiracy is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. For a list of other fine programming, go to albertapodcastnetwork.com, where you can find shows like I Have Some Notes. Have a great day.
Should I start recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Episode 7, Generations. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we're going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything as usual, because I'll be damned if I can sort out any of this cream-crackered codswallop.
Codswallop.
Jesus. Yeah. If you'd like to see where we dug up whatever pitter-patter we're going to discuss today, then please check out the resources in the episode description. Charlie, our good friend,
let's get at her.
He spends hours and hours on that, and it's appreciated.
My fingers are nubs.
They're nubs. Yeah, bloody nubs. So, and also we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. It's a good
It's a good thing.
It's a good group of pals, and we are glad to be a part of the family. Joining the chinwag today is gorgeous Greg.
Hello.
And charming Charlie.
Yes.
These two blue cheese enthusiasts.
There you go.
Blue cheese or GTFO.
Yeah. They will
Remember? Blue cheese boys.
Yeah. Oh, right.
The blue cheese boys.
BCBs.
I'm sure that's what they call you.
Watch your back.
Down at the swing joint.
Or your wings, whichever one.
And there are drums. Jason pointed out that in a plate of wings, you're apt to find a drumstick or two. So they're not just wings. And I was like, that's a good point. You get the odd wing, get the odd drumstick. What else do you get in there?
Gristle.
Yeah.
Some sauce.
But there's no other like parts of the chicken.
Maybe a tip. A wing tip.
Really quick, if you would like to keep up to date with what we are up to here at It's a Conspiracy, then please check out our website, it'saconspiracypodcast.com. And you can find the links to our Twitter, that's run by the Irish Madman, our Facebook group, the Instagram, that's run by Greg, our email, and our Patreon page, patreon.com/it'saconspiracy. All right, now, Charlie, with a yes or a no, can you tell me if you've heard of either of these theories?
Yes.
Number 1, who is George Soros?
No.
Okay, number 2, is Boba Fett actually a dangerous bounty hunter?
Yes.
You've heard of Boba Fett.
I've heard of Boba Fett.
Have you ever heard of anyone challenging the
Authenticity.
the je ne sais pas of the Fett?
No.
A little Boba. All right, now subject number 1. Who is George Soros?
Who?
This is a big one. Like the New World Order or the Flat Earth business, there are a lot of aspects to this. So this will be a basic general overview of the influence of George Soros.
Oh, wait. He's the guy from that TV show. It was aliens.
No, that's George Tsoukalis.
George Tsoukalis. Yeah,
I really feel like the name George Soros and Alex Jones goes together.
Oh,
I'm right on the money.
stay tuned.
Okay.
So we'll come back to a couple of these inside theories, but this is kind of like the MK Ultra thing, where it's like, here's a brief overview, and we'll return to this later on. So George Soros is a Hungarian-born billionaire who lives in the U.S. and is head of the Open Society Foundations. He's been lauded for years as a financial genius who developed a way of seeing trends in investments and a supporter of liberal and progressive causes. To many, he is a global puppet master funding a variety of left-wing movements in order to control the economy, governments, and ultimately our minds. So movements like the revolution in Iceland, the NFL kneeling protests, women's rights marches across the US and around the world, the reaction against Brexit, the caravan of refugees from Honduras, the Turkish purges, and more recently this business with Ukraine have all been seen as an example of Soros's alleged influence in the world. So
powerful.
It's super powerful. And George Soros is one of the richest men in the world. His organization, Open Society Foundations, does openly fund democracy and human rights causes. So their website, they're like, we fund democratic and human rights causes in over 100 countries across the world. So he's like, we fund movements all over the place. So people are like, well, that's what's going on with that guy. And there's a lot of reasons why. So we'll go back to the 90s. What a time. 1991. Greg, were you alive in 1991?
March 31st.
Okay, I remember vividly 1991. Vividly. Oh, we just watched
That's just
this.
the thing.
Yeah.
You have to be born in the 80s to really appreciate the 90s.
Yeah, man, absolutely. People that talk about the 90s now, it's like, when were you born? Show me your card.
That's right.
Show me your
That's right.
papers.
They don't know.
They don't
Hey,
know
man,
what it was like.
I remember who let the dogs out.
Where's your flannel?
Okay.
Where's your waist flannel?
Electric Avenue.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Where's your wood paneled basement?
That's right. Oh, yeah. Loved it.
I had
Unreal.
multiple of those. So
Ooh, fancy pants. Rich Greg had multiple basements.
Right there, you're a man of money. You come from a wealthy family. We didn't realize this.
Not at the same time.
Greg's from old money. We didn't know.
If you guys ever find it, let me know.
Greg Soros.
In 1991, shortly after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Soros saw the opportunity to invest in democratic institutions in countries that had previously been under communist rule. This made a huge difference across Europe and ended up seeing him praised as a savior and immediately labeled as the bad guy by like people on either side. On top of this, Soros was one of the main investors who went against the suggested trend and bet against the British pound before the UK was withdrawn from the European exchange rate mechanism. So the European exchange rate mechanism, everyone's like, oh, the pound will be fine. Don't worry about it. And Soros was like, nope, I'm pulling all my money out. And the pound's value collapsed shortly after that, which was extremely damaging to the United Kingdom. And Soros, like overnight, earned more than $1 billion from that.
Hence the all well-known saying, in for a penny, in for a pound.
In for a penny, in for a billion pounds.
Something like
that. He was quickly seen as one of the men who broke the... Wait. He broke
the Band of England. He broke the Beatles.
He broke the Bank of England. So making him enemies, because the Bank of England is like one of the most powerful banks in the world. And people are like, oh, you don't want to make enemies with that guy. You're going to end up dead. And he was one of the guys who's like, well, fuck those guys. I'm just going to take my money out. And he made a lot of monies. So years later, he did actively campaign against, like, early 2000s. What a time. The Mummy. The original Mummy with Brendan Fraser. Do you remember those?
Fraser.
Fraser.
He is all like, stop wheezing the Jews.
Wow.
I'll be back.
Yeah. So during U.S. President George W. Bush, his campaign, Soros was like actively campaigning against him, not as a political opponent, but he was spending millions of dollars running a campaign of like, let's get this message out there. It was a fear-mongering. He was like, George W. Bush is running a fear-mongering state run by fascists. And people are like, how dare you, besmirch the royal name of the Bush? Yeah. And he's like, hey, I don't know about all this stuff. So this move in particular enraged certain media, like Mr. Jones. Mm-hmm. And Soros became a heavily discussed subject by, quote, journalists, quote, I'm sorry, I'm giving my opinion.
Who are you quoting?
Here. Yeah, quote, journalists, I'm giving the fingers here, like Glenn Beck and Bill Riley. This continues to this day where any number of events...
Hey, those guys work for credible news outlets, don't they?
Any number of events are immediately connected to Soros by very public people in American politics. This continues to this day. So I won't say who, but if you're the president of the United States, you might mention George Soros like almost on a weekly basis. It's bizarre.
Possibly.
Yeah. In 2018, Hungary went to the surprising point of officially making it illegal for foreign influence to finance immigrants seeking asylum in Hungary. This sounds really strange, but basically they were like, you cannot give money to an immigrant group coming into Hungary if you yourself are a foreigner. And people were like, what is this bill aimed at? And the bill was super controversial in the country. And the thing was, the government at the time was like, there's George Soros and he's giving money to these like traveling refugee groups so they can come into Hungary. Like the government was debating this. And the claim was that the government's claim was he was indirectly sending these groups money so that they could make their way to Hungary. and then apparently spread the Soros approved message of multiculturalism. So this falls into the whole like, oh, multiculturalism is a big conspiracy, which is really dark territory. Like that gets into scary stuff. But it is a fact. It's a documented fact that the Open Society Foundation that Soros runs, they're like, we're all about democratic rights and human rights and whatever. And we give money to people all over the place, but the specifics not necessarily super transparent. So the Hungarian government were like, we just don't want any of this, without openly saying like, this is not, we don't want Soros, but they were just kind of like trying to ban funded refugees, if that makes sense. So this was like legislation. And then Soros was like, well, I'm not doing that. And this was all a huge, big battle. This story hit an all-time high, and you guys have probably heard of this. So a pipe bomb was delivered to his home in New York State, and the individual responsible sent 16 pipe bombs across the states, including people like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and oddly, the actor Robert De Niro. They all got pipe bombs delivered to their house. No one was harmed in the attempt, and the person responsible was caught and prosecuted and is now in jail. So one of Soros's like caretakers found this pipe bomb and was like, I think that's a bomb. And then a bomb squad showed up and like took it out.
Dude, it's a bomb.
Yeah. And then, but nobody was hurt. And this guy ended up going to jail for attempted manslaughter. So really strange. So anyways, that's a very brief overlook at who is George Soros.
Also, I'm pretty sure like there's a theory out there that Robert De Niro is like a sleeper agent for something.
It is strange. And I didn't realize he was super political. Like maybe I've been missing out, but
I think it was Trump that kind of brought it out in him.
Yeah. And we're not supposed to give our opinions, but like it's true.
That has nothing to do with
like it's true. Like he brought it out. Like it was a reaction to that. Agree or not, it was a reaction to it. Oh, well, on that light subject, Charlie, what are we... Or sorry, Greg, what are we drinking? What are we drinking here, Greg?
What are we drinking?
We are drinking Blindman Brewing Five of Diamonds Pilsner. Fresh air, open spaces. Those were the doctor's orders to Mr. Len Thompson, returning from the First World War badly injured. He settled in the wide openness of these Great Plains right here in Lacombe, and still home to the famous fishing lure maker that carries his name. Len's story inspires us and reassures us as a brewery that some things are timeless. Trusted tackle, calm waters, getting away from it all, craftsmanship, quality, community, clean Pilsner malts, soft water, crisp hops. We brew this beer with the same steadfast dedication to our craft as our neighbors have to theirs in 1929, lagered for 6 weeks, and hopped with, that's a tough one.
Go for it.
Tettnanger and Saz. It is a dry and
Tettnanger.
It is dry and snappy and will taste like one more. We hope you'll enjoy this beer and appreciate how lucky we are for the freedom to live the doctor's timeless advice. Fresh air, open spaces.
This is good stuff. We haven't had a Pilsner. We had Steam Whistle.
Yeah, but it has been quite some time.
It's been quite some time. We've had a lot of IPAs.
So many IPAs.
Yeah, so many IPAs. Yeah. So it's nice to have something a little different. Yeah.
We're definitely going to have to get some of that, the little things or whatever. Simple pleasures that we had at
Simple Pleasures.
That was so good.
Northern Chicken.
But that's neither here nor there.
Well, speaking of our Northern Chicken thing, I know we're going off script here a little bit, but how were you guys, Charlie, how were you feeling after the Northern Chicken?
Oh, boy. I'm feeling good now, but let me tell you, that next day was, everything was lava. Everything. The bowels were lava, let me tell you.
Johnny Cash had a really good song called Ring of Fire.
It
kind of described exactly how it felt.
Wow.
Yep.
Let
me just say, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
It was brutal. It was like, I only had a little bit. I can still feel it on my tongue today, where the Grinch went on the right side of my mouth and crossed over, and I can still feel it on the left side of my mouth, on the left side of my tongue.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts, man. Like Matt at Northern Chicken, thank you. But once again, like, you seem like a very nice guy, but like, why would you do such a horrible thing to like?
We did ask him.
We asked him to.
He's a prince who was only doing what we asked him to do to us.
And he did say this is super hot.
We
you
did
guys,
full consent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unlike Andrew's made up consent.
I have a recording.
Legitimate full consent.
Garbage.
Exactly.
That is not
horse
true.
pucky.
Now watch your language. Good Lord. This is a family show.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Got 10 minutes and $100? Start planning your future with atbprosper.com. It's easy to create, manage, and follow your progress through your customized digital dashboard, either online or on the app. Start investing with as little as $100 and make additional contributions of as little as $25. Can't wait to get started? Visit atbprosper.com.
Nice. All right, well, that takes us to the Mandela Minute. Mandela Minute.
So, like I said previously in the past few, well, I haven't been here for the past few, but I'm not going to tell you what the Mandela Minute is anymore. Because
You know what it
You know
is.
what it is.
You know.
If you listen to us, you know what it is.
If you don't, look it up.
Okay. Are you guys big fans of board games? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
What was-
sir.
what was your favorite board game growing up?
I really liked Monopoly. I liked Risk.
Such bullshit.
Axis and Allies when I got a little older.
What about
more advanced?
Guess
Like
who?
Life.
Guess who? The Mystery Face game. Hungry Hippos.
Hungry. I don't know if that's a
Rock'em
board
Sock'em
game.
Robots.
Rock'em Sock'em
Yeah,
Robot.
that's again not a board game. That's
It's an
like
action board game.
Yeah,
It was on a board and it was a game.
I don't know.
And made by Milton Bradley.
Yep. That's a hard one because if it's like Hungry Hippos or Action Robots, well, that's neither here nor there.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Andrew, you actually brought up what this Mandela Minute is right off the bat. You said Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Did you say
Monotony.
Would you say that you've played enough Monopoly in your lifetime to know what Uncle Moneybags looks like?
Oh yes, sirree, Bob.
Oh yeah, and Charles.
I believe so.
Pretty much just a great way to flip your table over. And
Yeah.
Okay. Does Mr. Uncle Moneybags have a monocle?
Yes, he absolutely does.
No, he does not.
And no, he does not.
He doesn't. No monocle.
He
has no monocle.
100% has a monocle like Mr. Peanut.
All right, Jamie, look it up.
No, Mr. Peanut.
But yeah,
No, don't be messing around with this. Is this the theory?
This is straight up the theory that he had a monocle, but he no longer has one.
You don't remember him having a monocle, Charlie?
Nope, he does not
He
have
does
a
not
monocle.
have a monocle.
This man, once again, how are we in
Look,
the
look,
other...
look, look,
No, he
does
has a
not.
monocle.
No
I
monocle.
am with Charles on this one. He has no monocle.
20/20 vision.
Well,
That's how he can peer into the stock market.
Only
and
in
make
one,
all
only
his
in one
money.
eye. He's blind in his other eye.
no, man.
Or it was like one of those glasses that like people don't have a prescription in.
Look, zero. There's a one over here.
Okay, there's one where he's holding a machine gun. He wasn't a serial
look,
killer.
Look,
either.
look, look, look,
I
what
like
it says
this one.
underneath it. Click the one where they had it. Look.
Oh, that's a Mandela.
effect.
That's
Monopoly.
exactly what I remember. He had a monocle.
Nah.
No. So apparently, because the peanut guy, I never really ate those peanuts. Because they both have a top hat and a cane, and they are fancy. People just remember having Uncle Moneybags having a monocle, just like the peanut guy.
Yeah, no, I remember Uncle Moneybags having a big old monocle right in his face.
Well, I think this is the one time that mine and Charlie's universes have lined up.
That is terrible.
Yeah, sorry to ruin your childhood, bud.
Well, ruined.
Ruin. Wait, you can't ruin it. He's already playing shit tons of Monopoly.
Yeah.
That's bad enough.
There you go. Fair.
You're not a Monopoly guy.
I got to hate on for Monopoly.
See, this is why you don't remember the monocle.
I remember I played my fair share of it and I hated it.
Yeah.
So why is this game taking forever?
Or there's like the dreaded, you're like 2, 5, or 10, or like whatever, where you're on the certain stretch and you don't want to land on any properties. You're like 2, 5, or 10, 2, 5, or 10, as if that will help you actually roll.
Wow, you actually played a lot of it.
Oh, totally. But like it wouldn't help you roll a 2, 5, or 10 if you said it out loud.
That's fair.
Yep. Nope.
Wow.
There's one there, but I think that's definitely a doctored one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Sorry, bud. Also, a really great board game.
That is amazing.
Or, it's fun getting into trouble.
Use the Pop-O-Matic bubble.
I don't remember that ad, but that's...
You don't remember the Pop-O-Matic
I don't.
bubble?
No, that's a great jingle, though. That's amazing. Oh, sorry. And just to say thank you for the good times we had in our last episode. We were over at Northern Chicken in Edmonton, Alberta.
Damn.
And what a good time it was.
So good.
Yeah, for the most part.
Finger licking good.
The beer was good, and the first 3 rounds were amazing. And then after that, it just
come on
became
now.
like a torture scene from like some kind of old horror
I'd
movie.
say 4 out of 6 were awesome.
They were. They were
5
all,
and 6 were good.
But like they're not messing around when they say they're the hottest chicken in Edmonton.
My
no,
goodness.
that's for real.
Yeah, that is for real. Like that's the Grinch.
I can probably think of like one other time that I've eaten something that spicy.
Yeah.
But because it's so recent, I can't remember.
Oh man. I drove Greg home that night, and we were like, okay. Greg said, "Can you drop me off at our headquarter pub?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna drop you off." And I popped in, and
HQ.
we're like sitting
We both
there,
had
yeah.
a-
And we're sitting there, and somebody was like, "Oh, what were you guys doing tonight?" We're like, "Oh, we recorded our podcast at this Northern Chicken thing." And the minute I said Northern Chicken, like my eyes
started sweating.
Yeah, and it was nuts. It was like, ugh, and I had this horrible like cramp feeling in my stomach.
Like talking about it right now, my lips have pursed and I can feel it under my eyes.
Yeah.
Just talking about it.
Now, I got to say, Andrew, you were quite the sweaty Betty.
Oh, believe me. Okay. Well, speaking of sweaty Betties, so after the podcast, we got Matt to do a quick soundbite, and I'm like, I don't have any headphones. I'll just grab Greg's, and I put them on, and I didn't realize that Greg's headphones would be like a pillow
Sopping.
just like, and like a pint of sweat like ran
boy.
down
It
both
was
sides of my
not
face. It took a lot to not scream. Like you guys might have been like, "What happened to Andrew?" But I was just like,
Man puts his headphones down. He doesn't think another guy's going to just be like,
That's true. That's true.
I didn't know, but
Greg,
Yeah.
you didn't have the common courtesy to wipe off your headphones when you put them down.
he would have
How dare
he would have needed to be near like an industrial sink and like wringing them out like a towel that had been used to mop up something really sick.
as one sweaty man to another. It's the way she goes.
Yeah, it was just-
the way she goes.
Yeah, it was but that was so much fun. And honestly, the first 2 rounds I was like, this is nice. Then after that, the first 2 rounds were great.
You got shook after the first
Yeah.
2 rounds. You're like, I gotta go, and we're like, no, you sit here. You're not going
After what
anywhere.
we've been through.
I gotta go outside. No, you stay here.
I told Jason, I'm like
my
a
mom's
delicate
telling.
flower. Like my system is really sensitive. So
So
anyways.
there was no peer pressure or anything. Andrew did it out of his own free will, and me and Charles enjoyed that.
Wait a
shit out
minute,
of it.
that's not what happened.
We had consent.
Andrew was like,
Andrew gave us
eat all the
consent,
chicken.
and it was recorded live.
That's right.
Curse you too. I cursed your hearts that day. So subject number 2 is Boba Fett actually a dangerous bounty hunter?
You can't beat me. I'm Boba Fett. I'm the greatest bounty hunter ever. Oh, yeah.
Why he wouldn't be?
Oh, Charles. So I got Disney Plus for my kids as a special treat for their hard work.
Quote,
and
your kids.
and a chance to dive into childhood classics my wife and I loved when we were kids. Cherished bonding time, just generation to generation. It's incredible.
Old Yeller.
And and also I needed to see The Mandalorian. Like that was the real reason. So yeah, my
One half man,
Seen-
one half DeLorean.
Are you guys like? I'm not going to ruin anything on the podcast, but you guys
I haven't
with
seen any of
Mandalorian.
it.
Oh,
I've
I'm
seen-
all about it.
I do not have the plus yet.
sorry. Oh, Charlie, you haven't seen it yet.
I have not.
Okay, first of all, it's
you get-
Person DeLorean. That's a little joke. I'm sorry, that's just a little joke. Yeah. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Our people DeLorean. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
They DeLorean.
But there's Lady DeLoreans as well. So there's Mandalorians and
Aren't they just
and
Lady Lorians?
women DeLoreans. Yeah, I'm not sure. DeLoreans. They're all DeLoreans. And really, what does it matter? What you have in your pants? Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Yeah, no.
Fetch the damn bounty or not.
It's beautiful and glorious, and that which is good. It reminded me of a theory that I remember discussing with my nerdling friends at the hatchery when I was but a wee youngling. So Boba Fett, you're both familiar with Boba Fett?
I've heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greg's favorite movie is Attack of the Clones. Boba Fett's heavily featured in that.
That's Django Fett.
Oh, Boba Fett is in it, though.
Ooh, but not quite Boba Fett.
He's a little guy. Oh, Daddy.
He's a wee
Are we
lad.
off to find the Kappa Shabba? Yeah.
yeah.
We're off to fetch the bounty.
Yep.
But
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's funny. It's funny that you knew that I really like the second one.
You've told us before on the podcast. The Irish Madman had a serious problem with that. And we'll talk about him in a second here, but
Well, he
yeah.
doesn't know anything.
Yeah. Oh my. Oh my. So Boba Fett, who actually debuted in the horrific Star Wars holiday special Have
Which
you
is
guys
your
seen
favorite
this?
movie?
It's one of my favorites. Have you
Yeah.
guys seen this? I'm hoping to do a commentary on it at Christmas time. If you guys haven't seen it,
Is this the Star Wars Christmas special?
the Star Wars holiday special, not
Oh,
Christmas
yeah.
special.
We're watching
I
that.
feel
It's
like
amazing.
I've seen parts of it, but I don't know that I've seen the whole
Original
kit and
cast?
caboodle.
So it came out after A New Hope and before Empire Strikes Back.
Is it all original cast?
It's all original cast. It's partly animated, and Han Solo takes Chewbacca back to his home planet to celebrate Life Day.
Kashyyyk?
Yeah, Kashyyyk, and his like Chewbacca's family's in it,
Yeah, of course.
and his wife's
Well,
name
he's
is
going
like
to his home planet.
is
Of
like
course his
Lumpy
family's
or
gonna be
something.
there.
Oh, they're all there, little Wookiee kids. Yeah, and along the way they run into Boba Fett, who's animated, and he's got the little spear gun. And so George Lucas was planning on Boba Fett for a long time. Anyways, the first time Boba Fett showed up was in that Life Day thing, and then Life Day came out, or sorry, the holiday special came out, and George Lucas was like, "Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever done, and I need to eliminate all the copies," and he like got rid of everything. Like that's why you'll never see a DVD copy of it.
Bought them up through.
He
He bought them through
Netflix.
through
Bought them
Netflix
through
or
Netflix.
Blockbuster.
Now they're no longer in circulation.
It's hard to come across a copy. There's some grainy copies on YouTube, and we'll do something with that later on. Not to spoil anything, but so Boba Fett claimed to be the biggest villain next to the Emperor and Darth Vader. In the movies, technically showed up in The Empire Strikes Back, and in that movie, he was tasked along with a couple of others, Bosk and IG-88.
Oh, this is during that bullshit shit that what's his face added when he redid it, right?
Are you going to besmirch The Empire Strikes Back, my friend?
Well, if
he's talking
it's not
We're
the original,
walking on landmines
if
right
it's
now.
not the original,
Talking about
No.
content.
Bosk was in the original, in The
yeah,
Empire
no,
Strikes
but
Back.
the scene you're talking about where he gets like Darth Vader is like, you guys got to go find everybody, and it's like,
No disintegrations.
Yeah.
And there's those guys in the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
wasn't part of the original though.
That was in the OG. Oh yeah, Bosk was in the OG. Yeah, you see his foot, and then he's like,
His foot.
you see his foot, yeah. And then a very hilarious looking robot is there, a scary looking C-3PO. So, anyways, he's tasked along with a couple of others to go bounty hunting, and a bounty hunting he went. So awesome helmets, awesome armor, awesome gun, awesome spaceship, awesome voice, awesome everything, and pretty much just the coolest guy around. An instant fan favorite despite only having about 3 minutes of screen time between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Quick note on Return of the Jedi. This Return of the Jedi is the Irish madman's favorite Star Wars film. He loves the Ewoks in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there. Lucasfilm, now owned by Disney, has made billions off of Boba Fett toys, games, lunchboxes, negligee. That's not a joke.
Yeah.
Costumes, cards, edibles. That's also not a joke. Clothes, etc. So people love they just love everything about this badass bounty hunter. Now the problem is, Boba Fett actually isn't. The theory is he's actually not a very good bounty hunter. So at best, he's like not the best. And and at worst, he's actually like a clumsy, bumbling idiot. Now here's what I'm talking about. This is all
He's
in
the
the
Jar
films.
Jar Binks of
Oh man, like a
bounty hunters?
a cool looking, scary Jar Jar Binks, basically. Number one, he's berated by Darth Vader during the debriefing, where Darth Vader's like, "No disintegrations," which could mean
looking at you.
Yeah. And he points at him, and that could be, "Hey there, cool guy, stop killing everybody. Just take her easy." Or it could be, "Hey, remember that bag of ashes you brought in that you said was the guy, and then the guy turned up alive later on?"
I'm not falling for it twice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no more of this
Fool me
disintegrations thing. Number two, he waits in the garbage dump section before seeing the Millennium Falcon just scamper off, which is very lucky, to Cloud City. So he's like, "I'm just going to hang out in the garbage until the Millennium Falcon scampers by." And then three, and this is the real exhibit
clincher.
here. During the fight on Jabba's floating palace barge thing, he is totally distracted by Luke waving around a lightsaber and doesn't notice a blind Han Solo waving a stick. So in the confusion, Boba Fett's rocket pack is accidentally set off, which sends him flying into the side of the ship, and then he falls into the great pit of Carkoon. So to add to this unceremonious dismissal, the Sarlacc burps
Meg.
right after that. Yeah, just
Shut up, Meg.
So the great nemesis of Han Solo died on a slapstick comedy routine. It's like
Very Three Stooges.
Yeah, like slipping on a banana peel
I have opinion
in the
about
middle of a
this.
pie fight kind of routine.
I have opinion about this.
It's ridiculous. To be honest, personally, I'm kind of surprised when he pulled out his gun that he didn't like, whoa, whoop, whoop, oh, hey, whoop, zip, like just slip out of his hands and accidentally shoot himself in the foot or whatever. So clearly this bumbling twit resonated with fans, and that money-grubbing bastard George Lucas just couldn't help but give them exactly what they wanted. So he really leaned into the marketing of the character and made him a key point of Episode 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Hey, yeah, you did.
Where we see Boba Fett and his dadums, who is actually Jango Fett is able to use a rocket pat without like hurting himself. They do some bountying together up until Mace Windu shows up and chops his dad's head off
With what? With what does he chop his head off with?
with a lightsaber.
Just checking.
Now in the show, the Mandalorian, and that's not Boba Fett, by the way. It's got a couple people have been like, "Oh, that's Boba Fett." And it's like, that's not Boba Fett. Well, it might not be. Maybe it is. I don't
It's
know.
based 5 years after The Last Jedi.
And
Or not
Boba-
The Last Jedi, sorry. Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. So Boba Fett might have flown out when the Sarlacc burped. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, he escaped then, and that's how he's go out of there, and he'll be all right." And it's like, that's not Boba Fett.
Maybe that's why he doesn't take his mask off.
Yeah, well, the fact that the Mandalorian is capable with like a gun kind of proves that it isn't Boba Fett. Personally, that's getting into opinion time.
Sounds like a whole bunch of opinions here, boys.
Now we get a proper representation in the Mandalorian of a Mandalorian who meets all the expectations about a dangerous lone gunman type. So again, just like Jango Fett, it's like, okay, sorry about the whole like, whoa, whoop, oh, I fell into the thing and now I'm falling into the other thing. So, like since then, since Return of the Jedi, Lucasfilm has been course correcting, and now we have a Mandalorian who can keep his head on a swivel when he finds himself in the middle of a vicious cockfight. So yeah, that takes us to opinion time.
Woo!
Okay,
You
now-
wrote that whole segment because you wanted to say cockfight.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
You came up with the ending and you were like, how do I do this? What do I say?
From the ending backwards, yeah. Okay, now Charlie, what was the first thing that we talked about here?
George Tsoukalos.
George Soros.
George Soros and his billions invested in Brazil.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah. And Andrew, what was our Mandela minute? It was,
Yeah, Andrew.
did the Monopoly guy
He's still on the screen.
have a monocle? And I think he absolutely did. Okay, Greg, what was our second subject here?
Was
remember?
Boba Fett an actual good bounty hunter?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So Charlie,
He
what-
was a bounty hunter, but was he any good?
was he any good at it?
Now, when you think about it. Now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with George Soros.
Okay, great. Do you have some thoughts on George Soros?
To be honest, I don't know much about him besides what I've heard from Alex Jones, and because I think Alex Jones is just
AJ.
the funniest, stupid person I've ever heard of. I just took it with a grain of salt and really didn't pay attention. I do know from what you just described, he sounds like I said to you earlier, a goodwill terrorist. Like he's just trying to kill you with kindness.
He's like a human rights terrorist.
He's just
That's
trying to
how
help
he's been
the
described.
world so much
Is he like
that
Rob-
everybody just
Robin
thinks he's
Hood
a
with
bad
terror?
guy.
Well, because he's like funding countries to be like, we don't want to take all these refugees, and he's like, well, fine, I'll just give $1 billion to like another company or organization that's gonna bring them in.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. He's just like, I want to help the world so much that I'm willing to do bad to do it. This is kind of what it sounds like.
Or maybe, so you think that maybe he's done some bad stuff? Like,
I don't know. You didn't
Yeah.
talk about anything bad he did. You just
was
made him
gonna
sound
say,
like he was really good.
Well, we did an overview, but there's things like people are like, he crashed the Bank of England by himself, and then they're like, he gave the guy the NFL
Well, it
kneeling
doesn't
protest.
sound like he crashed the Bank of England. It kind of more sounds like he it was just a little, one up on everybody, being like, "That's a bad idea."
Pretty savvy.
Getting out of this.
Yep, and like hindsight, but like he could have lost a lot of money in that too.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely could have gone either way. We wouldn't be talking about him right now.
But people are also like, he's funding there's now this big reaction against Brexit, and they're like, oh, we should have another referendum, and people are like, oh, thanks Soros, you're funding the movement to have a second referendum because he didn't want it to happen, and he's like, well, that wasn't my will, and my will should supersede this.
I don't live in England, so I'm not able to.
Yeah.
Maybe if he was fucking with, Wexit over here in Alberta, which is a new thing.
There's a lot of things with Soros and Trudeau. Like it's in Canada too. Like this is global.
It's something I got to look into. I don't know.
Like I said, this is a very I skimmed the surface.
Yeah,
Just
like
the
I said, it sounds like something we could do a whole episode on. And
Yeah.
get very deep and dark and just whatever. But
The Soros-averse.
I just need to look into it more before I can actually formulate an opinion.
Alrighty. No, actually, that's fair enough. Chuckles?
Did you write this episode taking two possibly similar people, characters, and then one that's in real life and one that's a fictional character, and then so you're like, Boba Fett, is he a bumbling guy who just does stuff and he doesn't realize what he's doing, but he ends up doing stuff and then he falls into a pit? And it's like, and this other guy, he just got a lot of money and he's just bumbling around and he's spending it on what he thinks is important and he doesn't know what he's doing and he's causing all this crazy things.
I hadn't thought of it like that, but maybe subconsciously I had, yeah.
Kismet.
Because otherwise, it just seems like this guy's just doing what he thinks is good with his money. I don't quite get the conspiracy with him.
The conspiracy is that it's like for example, let me tell you the story here. In Edmonton, 2 years ago, I was at a protest, and there was the Sons of Odin.
Yep.
And they were doing their thing. And one of the guys was like, there was an exchange happening. There was a guy with a megaphone talking to these guys. And one of the guys was like, well, how much has Soros paid you guys to show up? And I was like, what? Like, who is this guy? And who thinks we're getting money? Like, most of us are skipping work to be here. And that was the first I'd heard of it. And I was like, okay, let's look into what he was talking about.
Right.
And that's when it was like, so it's like paid protests. Like the guy in the NFL kneeling, they were like, oh, he's
Colin Kaepernick.
yeah. So they're like, oh, Soros funded him. And then it's like the guy in Iceland, the leaders that were ousted were like, oh, thanks Soros for kicking us out. Or this thing in Ukraine, they're like, well, thanks Soros for like funding the whatever.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
It's kind of an Illuminati New World Order thing.
I kind of feel like it feels just like a scapegoat, like a thing for the way you're describing it, because I don't have any prior knowledge, really. I've not paid attention to this name before. But the way you're describing it makes it sound to me like it's just a scapegoat, like I can blame something on this guy. I can blame you protesting on this guy.
It
It was like back in the day when people were like, thanks a lot, Trebek.
Yeah. Or even, or Notley or Obama or any number of people
absolutely
who have the privilege of the power.
Yeah.
So that's just what it sounds like to me. But I honestly have not paid attention to anything about this guy previous to.
He's done a lot of things himself, but he also does openly fund. And I agree with you. I think you summed up. I have the same opinion. But he does have this open society foundations, and they're all like, we give billions of dollars to democratic services and human rights organizations. And it's like, it's not a matter of according to who, but it's like, there's going to be times like this thing in Hungary where they're like, can you stop funding the refugees that are coming?
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's what they should do or not, but at the same time, the Hungarians should be in control of those kind of decisions. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Big Hungary should be in control of Hungary.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have some thoughts on that? And that's not just Hungary. That'd be everybody. Like, I would feel the same if there was like some dude in like Sweden that was giving billions for like people to come into Canada and was like, I don't care about the Canadian law. Let's just stick these guys in here. And we're like, wait a minute.
I think what I'm about to say is going to be a little too controversial.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not going to go right to it because like it's just a whole different conversation. But what was the reasoning behind them saying, stop giving these people money?
So there was a huge influx of refugees into Hungary.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, and they were like, clearly they're being funded.
Clearly they're being funded. Was like, stop it because we, can't continue to take in this money that we know, like as soon as you stop giving it to them, we're not gonna have this money anymore. Or is it because stop giving it to them because we have something cheaper and it makes it easier for us to take this amount of people and make us look good? But the amount of people that you're sending in with money is kind of taking away from us.
So what you mean there is like
for them, they were always like,
let us fund it in our own way.
Let us fund it in our own way instead of you giving them money coming into this country and being able to go their own way.
Yeah. Or at least if you want to fund it, then let us decide what to do with the funds.
Well, not so much that way, but just almost it would be like they're living the
Yeah.
life that I was born in this country and I don't even live this life.
Yeah.
So I could see how that would happen.
That is the myth too. There's like this garbage that always goes around that's like, oh, these guys are making like whatever, and it's like they're not. Like,
No,
they're
definitely
absolutely
not. No,
You know?
I have friends that are from different countries, and trust me, they're not making that money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's a weird one, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of all consuming. Okay.
it's getting a little too political for my liking.
It does it, and that's why I was like, that was more why I was like, hey, let's talk about a guy that's like, is Boba Fett actually like Inspector Gadget? Like, whoop. So, as for the Mandela Minute, I think you're both crazy.
Yeah.
Uncle Moneybags.
The proof is on the TV screen right there.
I have a Monopoly game that's older than probably me and one of you combined.
Wait a minute. What? What are you suggesting?
There's no monocle on that game.
No
That is
monocle.
messed up. Sorry, man.
Look at him.
And actually, I brought it out and looked at it the other day just to confirm.
He is missing his monocle in all these pictures. That's the problem.
Because he's at LASIK.
I like how his bag of money also has to have like dollar bills on it. Like,
Well, how
it's-
else do you know what bag
Well,
you're
that's
grabbing
how
on
you
the
get
way out of
it.
the house in the morning?
But
Look, obviously he's in a rush.
It could have been a bag of oats.
You don't want to grab the wrong bag.
I guess
You
so.
Clearly label your shit.
Oh, I grabbed the bag of kittens.
Damn it. Oh.
I grabbed a hornet's nest on the way out this morning. But yeah, no, sorry, I didn't play enough Monopoly growing up to tell you, but I
lucky
don't ever
boy.
remember being
Lucky lad.
my family apparently hated playing Monopoly,
Yeah, well.
so that's why I never had to play.
It takes forever and it's annoying and it's always frustrating and stressful.
I prefer Risk myself.
I've seen people pull out like fancy new editions like Wizard of Oz, Monopoly, where there's extra things. And I'm like, wow, you're going to add more onto this game? Come on.
You
Look,
want to follow the yellow brick road?
There's short versions of
look,
Monopoly though.
The older I get, the more simple and shorter I like my games. Like Dominoes, that's a great game. Uno, that's a great game. You want to
Like-
play a game like that?
Want to teach me to play dominoes sometime?
Fuck yeah.
Done.
That's awesome. You can drink. You don't have to pay attention to much. You just got the number, the dots right in front of you.
You know what game is a lot of fun?
What's that?
This game right here.
Oh, you got me.
Ball gazer.
Damn it.
Oh, that's a good time.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Now, as for Boba Fett, my opinion is that Boba Fett. Can you guys, Charlie? Can you pull up a clip here for me?
What do you need?
I'd just like you to pull up Boba Fett, Jabba's barge, whatever death scene.
Boba Fett dies.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah, it's right after this. Oh,
All right. We'll go to
so great. We'll just watch.
We'll just watch
Oh,
this.
Amazing.
Hey-oh. Parkour.
Look at that.
Parkour. Wow. Zoo, 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 zoo.
Just chopping wood.
Get him. Yeah. Swing for the fences. All right, so
Like,
see, there's general chaos.
Friend or foe, he doesn't care. He's just, look at that. What did that guy do?
Wow, he was the pilot. Now they're stranded.
Chewie's lucky he didn't get his arms chopped off in that shot there.
Whoa.
A little higher. A little. Here he is. Look at this.
Okay.
So he's fine there.
He's fine. He's like, yeah, I got to get over into this
Sticks
shit.
the landing.
Oh, you fucked up my gun.
Had his gun cut in
You
half.
took out my gun. That was my best gun.
And he ties him up.
No, but
Okay,
wait.
ties him up.
Here's
That's
where we get
fine,
started.
too. That's fine. Oh, see, now that
And
was
he gets
just-
shot at.
Falls down.
He got shot at.
Yeah.
He just got his rocket pack exploded on his back.
Falls down like one of the ladies from church at a Red
Because
Lobster.
he hits him.
Look at this.
All right, he's got him dead to rights. Just take the shot. See. No. Ay.
And that's where they said that Boba Fett might have flown out.
Okay.
After
So
he
after the
burped.
burp.
After
And
rewatching
you
it,
don't see it.
it's not as
It's not as
bumbling
comical as you think.
as I remember it being.
It's like Inspector Gadget solving the mystery, and Penny and Brain are like actually doing all the work, and he's just like,
there's a moment where you said he was like scared of the lightsaber, and I'm like, damn right, you're scared of that lightsaber.
Well, I'd
It
be
chopped
scared of
your
a
dad's
lightsaber.
fucking head off.
If a lightsaber showed up in front of me and some dude was waving it around, hitting anything he fucking could,
And not
I
only
would
that,
be like, whoa, I got to back up from this situation.
not only that, cut my freaking laser gun in half.
yeah.
Come on.
Again, legendary bounty hunter, have more than one gun. Like, come on, man. Show up prepared.
He did show up prepared.
He had a little snappy
He had the grappling
rope
hook thing on his
I don't
wrist.
know.
And then he had some dumbass shoot a laser cannon at him.
Yeah.
He's just like,
now that I see this,
go whoop my
No, he's as cool as he was.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You haven't been here in a little while. Do you want to read the outro credits?
oh yeah, I think you
Oh,
should.
here we go.
Where do they start?
There
Does
you
it start
are.
where you wrote down outro
It
credits?
starts where I have outro credits in bold.
Well, Snappy Pappy, wasn't that a good time? Good times with our friends and loved ones who care, with smiles and songs in our hearts. If you listen closely, you can hear it. Speaking of listening, you can listen to all of our episodes on itsaconspiracypodcast.com and find links to our social medias and Patreon page at patreon.com/itsaconspiracy.
It's a conspiracy.
And hey, Christmas is just around the corner. There's nothing better than some sweet merch from the good people at
Oldmandesign.com.
Boom. We will be back with our Hanukkah special with Paula in mid-December, and then our next installment of It's a Cinemaspiracy. Thanks for stopping by, and please do take care.
Bye.
Snappy Pappy.
Begging for a little piece of boba. Yeah, you like that, don't you? You like it because you're bad. Oh, yeah. You dirty little smuggler.